You know,
Yeah.
and there's a lot more of us there's a lot more of us now that can afford to do the things.
Yeah. I mean, the cars themselves now too are by comparison with what they were cheaper, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really, I know they're still
Well,
not money.
as I say, it's what I said the other day, that there was only the three in Copthorne when I went to school.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, well, when would that have been?
well, I was born in 1913, so
Yeah.
you put five on that.
That'd be 1918 then.
Yeah.
Just a bit before.
I mean, the only memories I have of the war, First War, is after the war. There was where Gatwick Airport is now, or roughly where it is now. There was a big ammunition dump,
Yeah.
and I can remember my mum walking us to and fro to Horley when after the war, when they were, I suppose what they did, I suppose they blew a lot of the stuff in some sort of controlled.
Yeah.
Blew it up in some form. I can remember these, fantastic bangs and things, but I don't remember anything about the war. See, what would it, 1913, 1918, 5.
Cars, you wouldn't remember a lot.
It wouldn't,
No, it's about the same as me, because I mean, I remember bits. I was 1941, and you get 45. I was 4 years old when that finished, so I don't really remember the war. Just that sense of feeling about it, and
So, I don't remember a lot about. But I can remember, as I say, from 8. I used to cycle to Bradshaw's at Crawley Down and collect from the cook there a meat tin, these bacon tin, meat tin, full of dripping.
Yeah.
And I used to bring it down to Copthorne and sell it.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder how much meat went into a house in those days, didn't it? How much they must have cooked to have produced that.
Well, a little while back, there was a programme on, and they were talking about the fact that most of the people at that age ate a lot more meat with less vegetables than we do nowadays. People eat a lot more vegetables nowadays, so they reckon.
Well, I didn't really and truthfully know much what meat was, because my dad and my uncle Harry next door, they used to go rabbiting on the Grandad's farm, and we used to have as many as 5 rabbits a week. We used to have them baked, boiled, curried, you name it, we had rabbit.
Yeah.
And it was very, very seldom that we had meat. We used to have the fishmonger come round from 3 Bridges, and an old man by the name of Setford, and used to have 40 herrings for a shilling.
Yeah.
And if you had any cheek, he'd swipe one round your face and give you that as well.
Yeah, because you don't get the.
And there's all those things seem to have disappeared, didn't they?
Yeah.
They used to bring round fish, milk,
Yeah,
dipping it out of the churn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone used to call and take your order from East Grinstead, and people with the name of Ambridges used to come from East Grinstead and take your order, and then come to the horse and cart and deliver it.
Yeah, sometimes my grandparents, you see, I suppose, with the laundry. You see that I used to go out with him, and that's my granddad, and he was delivering all the laundry and picking up the dirty for the next week. It was all heavy cardboard boxes for work. It was sort of
now there's, and I know streets used to come round with the bread.
Yeah.
And now there's nobody calls, is it?
Well, you get the milkman. That's about all you do get now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But apart from that.
Well, I hadn't had a milkman for years.
Well, I mean, we get one at ours, but I mean, it's. I think it's almost a luxury nowadays.
Well,
really.
My milk at the moment, I've got about that much in the jug,
Yeah.
because mistimed it this week, you know, and I had when John's here I have 18 pints a week. When I'm here I have a job to use 4.
Yeah, well, a bit same as
But,
that.
that's the score.
What was I going to say? You went to now you were saying at school, you were, who was the master?
The one?
The master at school?
The junior teacher was Mrs. Viker, and the headmaster was a man by the name of Mr. Harmer, and he lived in the first house coming from Copthorne after the football ground. Now, what's the football ground now? That's where he lived. That was when, but before I left school, then it was a Mr. Bennett. Because that was the one who gave me the cane.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've got.
It was Mrs. Ted Viger, who was the junior teacher. She was the one who, as I say, tied me on my back, tied my hand back, and he used to hit me with a wooden rope because I was left-handed. I don't think. I don't think that was ever very fair.
No. But then that was
now it's gone the other way, isn't it? You know, they daren't check the child in any form.
No, you've got a job.
I mean the Covey, the policeman of Copthorne, in those days, if you did something wrong, he used to give you a clout. And now he'd say, go home and tell your dad. And you knew better than go home and tell your dad, because if Covey give you a clout, when you go home and tell your dad, he'd give you another one. So you used to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
But everybody respected him.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what he did. If he caught you doing something wrong, he didn't make a scene about it. He'd just give you a wallop.
Yeah.
And don't let me catch you again.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I know, it's the way things have changed, isn't it? I think that, when you say you went up to the school then, when you started?
When I started work?
Yeah.
Yeah, but as a plumber's mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. To Percy Langridge.
Well, you were subbing out to were you direct labour from the school or?
No, I was employed by R.O. Budgen of the builders Copthorne, and they looked after the water side of the school, and Vigers looked after the building side of the school. So, no, I went self-employed after the war, but you know, up to the war I was employed by R.O. Budgen.
And when did Alf start?
Who?
When did Alf start his business?
Alf?
Yeah.
After the war.
After the war?
Yeah. They started at Budgen, Burbridge and Cowell, 3 of them. And then the other 2 gradually dropped out. Whether they dropped out or bought it, I have no idea on that.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
They, you know, it was, and they were. Alf went in the services. I don't quite know how. I'm not quite sure whether he became a carpenter at Gatwick towards the end, but the Burbridge and Cavell were definitely carpenters at Gatwick during the war years.
I see.
I can't. Linda, Alf's wife, worked at Gatwick during the war years. She was in the dope shop. But I've been trying to think the other day whether he ever, because they went on working on the planes. You see, after the war, I suppose probably they've got contracts they finish or something.
Quite likely.
As I know, the day war broke out, I tried to leave Gatwick, and it was, I should think, nearly a 12 months before I got released.
Well, you during the war, what happened? You were...
I worked at Gatwick the whole of the war years.
You did?
Yeah.
What were you doing there then?
In maintenance on the building.
Oh, well.
I've been literally tied on those hangar roofs, putting those sheets on it at night, you know, a rope one side and a rope the other, and me on the top doing the nuts and bolts up. Because I used to be on call. I had virtually worked once 36 hours.
Did you?
And, I don't think I woke up for nearly 2 days.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
But I was on call 24 hours a day all through the war.
What did they have in those hangars much during the war? Was it Spitfires and stuff like that, or what?
Well,
They're
they first started fitting the gun turrets to, I believe, a plane called Armstrong Whitworth, or Armstrong something. And then after that, Queen Mary's used to come with, you know, broken wings and broken bodies and goodness knows what. And then they used to make an aeroplane up out of the bits.
Mm.
I got an idea that they were Wellingtons, but I wouldn't like to be quoted on that.
Mm. They weren't
Because the wings and that, you see, was only stretched canvas and painted. Because that was what Linda was. She was one of what we used to call them the dope queens.
Mm.
The health and safety wasn't going to go crazy then, would they?
They would.
With this dope in a pot, and you painted it and looking over the top of it.
I think they got a bit high on some of the fumes, didn't they?
Yeah, when we were there, I had a Norton motorbike all through the war years.
Mm.
Well, I think your petrol allowance was something like 2 gallons a month, and so they used to get aircraft fuel into them. Now they used to every so often come round and collect, test for aircraft fuel. Now they never ever tested my bike because they knew it was full. Because I used to have to do a lot of running around, and we had nowhere near enough petrol in transport to you know, meet all the needs. So they used to fill my bike up with aircraft fuel. It was always full of air. And it used to be all the racks, they'd go all the way along the rack testing them over. You could buy one every time. I suppose they'd been told to leave it alone.
Yeah.
But it was an advantage because I was never short of petrol.
Mm.
But I mean, I was virtually on call, so I said 24 hours a day.
I know after the war they had an air show at Gatwick at the end of the war, didn't they?
Yes.
And I went down there, and I'd been asked to go up in an aeroplane, and Mum and Dad said, oh no, I kicked up a shindig and I was going to go up, and I went up. And I still remember that, and I must have been only, I think it was about 1947, 48, wasn't it?
The only flight that I got, because they used to have to take them up on test, and the only flight I ever got up, I went up on one, and it flew at that angle all the way around. They couldn't ever straighten it out. They went one circle round and down, and I never had a chance to have another run.
No,
because they used to have to make up a bit of a crew, because well, I think actually they manned the guns when they tested them, because I suppose if they'd met Jerry, they'd had to have some sort of protection. So I'm pretty certain that that's what they used to make up a crew for.
Mm. Right.
But it was also I never got.
You say you're on call for down there during the war. You're carrying on trading?
Pardon?
You're carrying on trading
No, I was employed by them.
Employed by them?
Yeah.
All time?
Yes, full time.
Full time, but and on call?
I never had set hours. I was, you know, I could possibly have 2 days off, and then no time off for 2 months.
Yeah, I know.
If it was a storm or anything was, you know, damaged the roof of the.
Mm.
Wasn't a. We certainly weren't worked to death.
No.
But you know, it was long hours.
Mm.
Well, they're so short of machinery over there. I had my own lathe over there.
Did you?
In the workshop where we operated from.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they found out I'd got an old lathe in Copthorne, and the person transported it over there. Gained a few extra tools, obviously, when I brought it back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Getting back to the road bit down by our yard, now you were saying that was a footpath.
It was definitely a footpath, yes.
Yeah.
It was. I wouldn't like to say that there wasn't a muddy bit at the side as well, because Church Lane was like that.
Mm.
Church Lane used to have a footpath ran the full length of it when we were children, and the centre of the road was made up with faggots, because my granddad used to have a wood yard, and they used to put the faggots in the mud so the horses and carts could go down it.
That's right.
And I somewhere got an idea that there was a road downside of the footpath, and that I think was the reason why the posts were there, to prevent whatever was going down the road from having one wheel on the
footpath.
On the footpath, because that's what they would have done, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
See, Church Lane was like that.
Yeah, I remember Church Lane being.
You can remember that was it.
Yeah. The footpath, and then
because it crossed over.
Yeah.
It started.
That's right.
It started one end and then crossed over almost opposite where my Granny Budgen lived.
Yeah. That's quite right. I remember that one thing like that.
And Newtown was like it, of course.
Yeah, but Newtown was only half the size originally, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was almost a dead end, if I remember rightly, wasn't it? Almost. Because or did it go into a footpath?
There was always a bridge over the school brook that was big enough to take a wagon over.
Yeah.
And Newtown came down. There was the footpath ran into Church Lane.
Yeah.
Because there was a wall all the way down one side of Newtown.
That's right. Yes, that's still there.
Is it still there?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
all down the.
Yeah. Well,
all down the. Yeah, up by the brook and what have you.
Yeah.
Though they built behind it, because that wasn't.
They built into that wood, have they?
Yeah, built into that. Yeah, into there now. Yeah.
Oh yes, because I believe they cut some entrances into it when they built some council houses there as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they built. The council houses are along the side there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember them.
I worked on one lot of the council houses there, the ones opposite the old houses in Newtown. Because it was the old houses that belonged to the Maynard Trust.
Mm.
Because Maynard Trust actually owned nearly all of Church Lane, nearly all of Newtown, and nearly all of Hill.
Mm.
They were all rented. All those were all rented property. They were all rented property then when when I got back in 1947.
Mm. Yeah, because a lot of rented property it wasn't economical to rent, and not to let out to rent at that time. So a lot of stuff got sold off, I suppose.
When you look at the paper now and see the prices that one rents a house out for, I thought, well, how on earth do people meet that? And then I thought back when Lily and I were married in 1936, and I earned £2.16 a week.
Mm.
I used to give my grand 12 shillings a week for rent, Lily £2 to keep house, and the rest was mine. So 12 shillings rent out of £2.16 was a big proportion. So the rents now aren't really dear, are they? Because nobody works for very little money now.
Mm. Oh, no, it's all proportional, I suppose. I know this is. Do you remember when you came up through the village? I mean, I remember when I think where Anne Denman's place used to have a fish shop place.
Yeah, it was a Peter Lower's mum started that.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, Phoebe Lower. And then she had a greengrocer's shop, and after a while she started selling fish. And then somebody by the name of Anne Denman took it over afterwards.
Right. Yes, it.
I don't know, I don't think Anne only did vegetables. She didn't do fish and chips, did she?
She didn't do fish. I don't know. I remember fish being out there.
Yeah, well,
just about.
The Lowers did fish and chips to start with, but whether, I can't remember whether Anne did or not.
No, I can't remember that. Yeah.
Because Anne was sister to Arthur Snelling's wife. There was three of them. I forget where the other two fitted in. But the school was responsible for those.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they came down as maids to maids to the school.
Oh, yeah. So it's quite
Nearly all the young ladies that were in Copthorne that came were nearly all from Yorkshire and up that way. When you think about it, it must have been terribly scary, mustn't it? Leaving home at about 14 and 3 months and come to...
Yeah. Come down here and...
and, I mean, children now, well, they're nearly all of working parents, aren't they?
Mm.
So they're used to being with somebody different, but in those days, children were on their mum's apron strings virtually until they left school, and then to be leave school one day and then come right away from home like those must have been ever so hard.
Yeah, must be. Yes, it's a big turn.
Because what would
It's quite young now, isn't it?
Lily would have been about 16, I should imagine, when she went, because I think we were caught in about 4 years, and she was 20 when we got married, and you know, in those days you had to have her father's permission at 20 to...
You got that all right?
But yes, oh yeah. Yes, I'd been up there a few times. I'd got a little Gordon England Austin 7 by the time we were married. And I know the first journey I went to Yorkshire took me 9¼ hours from here to where Lily's home. And you know, towards the end of her life, we used to go up there in under 4. Yeah. We used to leave here at 4 o'clock in the morning and arrive for breakfast.
Mm.
But then, I mean, in the early days, you went through all the big towns, you know, Grantham and all the towns all the way up.
Mm.
And then you started using the North Circular, which helped a bit. I never went to Yorkshire after the motorway was built, because you know, the latter years Lily wasn't well enough to travel.
Mm.
So you know, I can remember she bought a little dog down here while she was after she left the school. She went and worked for Mrs. Webb, which would have been remember Andrew?
Yes.
Andrew
Blakey.
Blakey.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been his gran.
Oh, right.
And the girls weren't allowed followers, so you used to have to creep round the back, and then they'd come and talk to you in the coal shed for a little while, and then have to go back and make the. And then she went from there to a house up near the mill, Rovant.
Yes.
The people were named Jeffries. Now that was entirely different. I had my own radio at Jeffries because they hadn't got one. I had my own radio, and I used to go up there every night. You still have to cook the evening meal at 8 o'clock, but I was allowed to go up there, and they drove her to church and everything when she got married.
Mm.
But,
well, my mum was in.
Pardon?
My mum was in service up there too. The Lay House, I think it was. She was up,
yeah, Layhouse.
yeah, she was up there too.
Yeah,
She did have a spell up there.
that Layhouse is just before the lake, actually, isn't
Yes,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, this one, Jeffrey's house, was just after the lake. It was at one turn the miller's cottage
Mm-hmm.
when they used to have the water mill there, because there was no mains water to the house, and to the Jeffrey's house, but up near the footpath where you came across the common and walk up through the Rovant, used to be a big windmill, and that used to pump the water for Jeffrey's house. And I know one day he said to me about this pump wasn't working, could I mend it? He said, it's a deep well pump. I said, yes, we do deep well pumps. So I got up there with a van and great big ladders and goodness knows what. And when I get up there, all there is on the top of the ground is a round plate. And I'd never seen one of them before. And how they did it, the pump, because as you know, you can only lift water 25 feet. It won't come any higher, that's it. So what you have to do, you have to put the pump down in the water, and then you're all right.
Yeah.
So what they did, they sunk a great big tube by 6 or 8 inches, and on the end of the tube was the pump, and to get the valves out, there was a great big rod, a wooden rod running right down through in the wing, and to get the valves out, you undone it, turned it in reverse, and that gripped the bottom valve. Then you set the windmill and it pulled the valve out of its seating, and then you pulled the wooden rods up and repaired it. I found out how to do it, but I went there with ladders to ladders to repair it.
Yeah. I've seen some of these wind pumps when you see the rod going up and down, don't you?
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, most times when there was a windmill and a deep well pump, the well was there, so you used to let the ladder down the well and stick a bit of wood through the top rung, and then go down it. I often wonder what would happen if that top rung broke.
Well,
I called it the safety at work man would go absolutely crazy, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
Well, you just imagine when, as I say, being tied on that roof at Gatwick Airport. You'd have had that scaffold up inside and goodness knows what.
Mm. I know, same thing goes. Totally different world altogether.
Well, your job got somewhat different way you can operate diggers and goodness knows what also.
Well, they have to be qualified nowadays, that's the trouble. It's a nightmare, a lot of it really. I mean, I'm used to being able to go out and just do what I wanted to do. And but you're the same, aren't you? You had a job, you just worked it out for yourself, and you got on with it.
Yeah.
But now you have to sort of consult this, do that, do something else.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it to please somebody else.
Yeah.
No, it's a vast difference.
What's the
So that,
So I take it when you were doing most of the plumbing, you were doing most of the plumbing around the villages, weren't you? Or
Yeah.
the new houses and saying.
yeah. I did work for, as I said, a small field builder, George Ball, and I did a lot for Alf. I did all the plumbing work in Three Bridges and that for a builder by the name of Jenner. And another builder, I can't think of their name now, they were down on the London to Brighton Road. I'll probably think of their name in a minute. I did a lot of work, ever since a lot of work in Crawley for them.
Mm-hmm. When you the steel and the old stocks and dyes die out and the copper came in, when would that have been?
The first people to do anything to copper was the Yorkshire Fitting Company.
Mm.
And they came round, and my dad reckoned it was a good thing, and I reckon that we had the first bending machines and that there was in them. There was some just before the war.
Was there?
Yeah. I got an idea that the Yorkshire Fitting Company is dated from about 1936, but it might be a little bit later than that.
Yeah.
But they were the first ones when they came out with their fittings. They came out with that soldering in them then.
Yeah, they did.
And they still Yorkshire Fittings still make end flow fittings now, but they still make the one with the solder ring in it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've been using them just like ourselves anyway.
It was ever such a successful.
Mm.
You know, I shouldn't think it got used commercially until after the war.
Mm.
It didn't, but it was certainly about 36 or 37 when they first come around with it.
Mm-hmm.
It was real good.
It was so much faster, wasn't it?
Hmm?
I said so much faster. I mean, the other way was.
Oh yes. There was always the challenge then to see how long a length you could do without putting any fittings in it once you got to bending it. Because they used to come in 17-foot lengths when they first started coming out with it.
Did they really?
Yeah, they're only about 10 now.
That's right.
They were 17 footers. Because the galvanised part was 21 feet.
Was it? Well, all I remember is cutting the thread and putting the old hemp and.
Yeah, well, all those row houses that Vigors built at Crawley Down, they were all screwed pipe. I've got an idea. I may very well not be quite right on that, but I think the first council houses up Newtown were screwed pipe. Because the council were a bit slower taking up the copper pipe than.
I wasn't at all surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, the original pipe working out in my place was steel, as I said,
Yeah.
Screw pipe.
Yeah.
Because I know you came down and you had to do some. It must have been. I wouldn't be at all surprised when we've had the extension put up the back. But I remember a bit of a steel pipe coming down, and then you had a fitting on it. Then it went into copper.
Yeah.
And then I know a few years later or something, there was a reaction between one and the other, and
Yeah,
we had to have a
they
second.
making a nylon bush thing that you put between the two.
Mm. This was on actually. This was pre that because obviously it would give him trouble.
Yeah.
And
then afterwards they must have done something to the copper pot because it never caused any bother afterwards.
mm.
Of course, that of course depends again on the water, doesn't it? East Surrey water was, well, in my book, was one of the best water in the whole of the country.
Mm.
Now, you never had any trouble with East Surrey water, but the other one, in the West Sussex, there was some terrible stuff at one stage.
Must be the chemicals they put in it.
But at one stage, the water in West Sussex, parts of it, it went from Surrey up to Turner's Hill, and then it went into a massive, great big reservoirs there, and was pumped around all the rest of the country.
Mm.
One of the great big water tanks at the Turner's Hill water thing, a mate of mine's cut the house now, and we cut the end of it, and it's a beautiful garage.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful garage too.
That's very good.
You know, it's cut into the bank, and then the other side is all lovely garden and creeper stuff over it, and it was a concrete roof, and I think that got blown off in that great big storm, and they had a nice roof put on it.
Were you involved a lot with sort of wells, putting them up, well, I mean you've got this one up at Rofan, but were there any other places where the wells were, then people had to pump them or not?
There were a lot of wells.
I was wondering when the mains water actually came.
There was a big one at the school,
Mm.
but that had been put on the main just before I started. It's a massive, great big well in the basement, and it had a big wheel over the top, and somebody's job was to, pump it up every day. But that had been put out of commission before I started.
Mm.
I'm just trying to think. There were quite a lot of wells when I was at work.
Mm.
I mean, we're down Park Farm, Crawley Dam. That was a well.
My grandparents at East Oakley, they had a well and a pump, and I remember them having to switch it on and off and wait for the overflow and then switch it off again. Things like that.
Well, ever since a lot of the farmers relied on, until they got the water mains round.
Mm. Rome wasn't built in a day, was it?
Yeah.
When it comes to a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Crystal clear water in a lot of those springs too.
I wonder how many chemicals get into them nowadays though. There's so much stuff around the place, isn't it?
Well,
I suppose it gets filtered
there's
out.
one out here that's 27 foot deep. There's one in the courtyard that's 12 foot deep. And the water now I wouldn't know to know that, but the water in the well there was much nicer than the one out of this one.
Was it?
And when you look at it, there's the well, and there's the outlet from the cow shed running down the side of it. They're within what? 3 foot of each other.
Mm.
And that was the well that supplied all the cow sheds.
Mm.
That one I started. This one I filled in, but.
Well, Robin's got a well, but they filled it in. But now we hooked it out because we had filled it in, but we hooked it all the stuff out and got the old little digger there with things and pulling the stuff out. And they cleaned it, made it work again.
Yeah.
Put a grill over the top so the kids don't get in it, of course. We made a feature in the garden. Why not?
But that one I put a little pump at the top of it and drew water out of it for a long time. First time we drew water out of it, when I had that big fire engine, you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
When I had it from Pat, the pumping all was dismantled because it had something wrong with the gearbox. How they did that, they used a Morris commercial chassis, and then they took the prop shaft off the back of the gearbox and mounted an additional box. The bottom half went through and picked up the transmission again, and the top half of the box drove the pump.
Mm.
Well, there was a piece in that was broken, and I took it to pieces and made a piece up and got it to work. And so we decided we'd try it. So we put the fire engine in the yard, dropped the hose in it. John was going to run a length of hose out like the firemen do, you know, take hold of it and run. I started the pump up. The hose started, but you lifted him off the ground. Because, you know, there was so much power to it. And he got a nozzle out there, and within 2 minutes, it had stopped. We couldn't work out why, and it pumped the well dry. Because it pumped 500 gallons a minute. But it virtually lifted John off the ground. It would have come up through the vertical and lifted him off the ground.
Well, of course, I remember the old fire engines used to come quite regularly onto the common, and you could always, there was much more gorse and heather on the common years ago, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And of course, that
Yeah, they used to burn, they used to
catch fire.
Well, they used to set it alight, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but I mean, they'd often come over, and they're always a bit careful down by a yard because we've got petrol pump there, you see.
Well, I always loved the Turner's Hill fire engine. You know, it's nice now to see her still.
Mm. Well, they were usually the first on the scene by a long chalk.
Yeah, yeah.
They were very good, you know, considering all part-timers.
Yeah, well, that was formed in 1939.
Was it?
Yeah.
And during the war, I suppose, sort of thing, was it?
Yes.
It came about like that. Yeah. I mean, it was quite a sight to see, that was.
Well, that was sort of station, sort of halfway up the hill somewhere,
That's
wasn't
right.
it?
Yeah, just round the corner.
Mm.
Yes, just there.
I think it was crewed mostly by people that worked at
Barrett.
yeah, that big house place up there.
Yeah, yeah. I know that they're all part-timers, you know, just they drop everything and go. But they're very good. I think they were the first on the scene when we had our big fire in our place too, for that matter.
Oh yeah, yeah, it did.
You know.
Yeah.
There's one coming down there.
It was.
But the old fair, I mean, we used to have that, and this the old fair on. Did you ever go to the fairs much on the common? Did you ever go to the fairs on the common much?
I used to go to them, yeah, but I mean, we never got much to spend on it. Yes, because I can remember them being driven by the steam engines in the early days. We used to always go up there.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you could have was those lightning water squirters.
Yeah.
Okay, the other day I thought of the name of the people who were the fairground, who used to run it at most times, but now I can't remember it again now.
Well, I was told
You should, I ought really to take a pencil and paper to bed, and as I say, when I think about it, make a note of it. Because that's the only way you, you know, I usually go to bed sort of 9-ish, and I lay awake quite a long time, and this is what, most of the times you go back on older times, because you can remember things a long way back easier than you can remember.
Yeah, no, it's true, isn't it? Something got to.
when we were going back to pumps, there was a pump in the yard at Workman's School, still working, right up till quite late. Because he used to draw water and that and water the greenhouses. He used to grow grapes and all up there.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, these big houses did have all that sort of stuff, didn't they?
That's it. That's where Tim actually got his bungalow by. They were going to convert the greenhouses to, a living residence, and then when they started, they weren't really suitable, and the council said, well, they gave them permission to pull them down and start again.
What about Clevese's place? Did that have any wells, or was that on the mains? Or wouldn't you know?
That was always on the main. Always on the mains too. I believe one of the tall house. I think that was on the well. That'd
be Anne's Villa, wouldn't it?
Pardon?
Anne's Villa.
Yeah, Anne's Villa.
Yeah, that's right. That was on a well.
Yeah, I think that was Anne's Villa was, and I believe the one down near where the blacksmith was at Keeper's Corner was that was still on the well.
Yeah. I saw a picture of that the other day when it was actually blacksmith's.
Yeah. Mr. Steele, I believe was the name of the last blacksmith that ran that. I think it was Steele. I can remember the blacksmith I can just remember that being used.
I can remember the empty building being there.
Yeah.
But not actually, nothing going on.
Because they had one of the things that they could do wagon wheels with. You had to have a thing so that you could make the whole of the tire red hot, because that's how you put the wheel together. You put all the spokes and the fellies and whatever together on the wheel, and then you made the rim by. They used to have a funny little thing they used to push around and measure it with a chalk to make the inside of the wheel smaller than the tire you were going to put it on. Then they used to fire it until it was red hot, so then it spread, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And they used to drop it on the wooden wheel and tip water on it ever so quick.
Yeah, they didn't scorch.
And that used to shrink it in. Well, they had a plate to do that there. But old Spencer at Copthorne, he used to do it without one of those. If the wheel was loose, he'd chop a little lump out, and I don't know what material they used to put between the two steels, and then hammer it together. There used to be little sheets or something they used to put in it. Now you just oxide out or electric weld it, wouldn't you, the 2 hours? But they didn't. They used to hammer the two pieces taper-wise, so one was under the other.
Well, if you
And then they used to put something. They used to have a little piece of stuff he used to put between the two, and then hammer it together. But I don't know what I can't even remember what the stuff was. But there was a sort of a piece of some sort of material where it must have been some sort of flux, possibly. I don't know.
Could be.
Because basically, when the blacksmith he forged them together, didn't he?
That's right.
But there was this. Spencer used to definitely have something that went between the sheets, because I can remember. Because I lived on the opposite side of the road to the blacksmith shop, and often when I was riding up to work in the morning, he'd call me in and get me to strike him off so much iron before I went to work. Because then they used to put a taper thing on the end of the anvil, didn't they? And then hit the iron with a sledgehammer and to cut it. But I used to very often go in there get a copper or two.
Oh, yeah.
When your wages was £2.16, and you could any little bit that added to that.
You know, I don't remember much of that forge.
Because going back, and I remember going back now to when I was a child, my father was a plumber by day, and he used to go waddle making at night from my granddad.
Waddle?
And waddle making, they were things that they used to keep sheep in, and they used to use them at jumps, didn't they?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Well, they used to go up there
With hazel?
making those at night with a lantern.
Yeah. Where would he be doing that then?
Then
Where would he be doing that?
at my granddad's farm at Kidsbridge.
Oh, down there?
Yeah, Kidsbridge. The house now is boarding house or something right in the island, isn't it?
That's right.
Well, that was
your grandfather's place?
yeah, that was my grandfather's house.
Yeah.
It was my great granddad's first, and then my granddad's. And the farm stretched from there, except for 2 fields around Shipley Bridge Lane, right out to, and where would you call it? You know where that big garage is on the road before you turn to Tinsley?
What they call the pit stop one now? They call it a pit
I
stop.
think I have an idea. Well, it included all those fields opposite that.
Well, right out there.
Yeah, but it was 2 farms. It was Kidsbridge Farm up there, and I think it's Allingham Farm.
Yeah.
Was the other end. And then when my great granddad died, it was split up. One of the brothers had that farm, and my granddad had because what was the old Copthorne Sewerage Works was taken off of my granddad's farm at one turn. There was 2 fields. They were called the well-filled copse off of Shipley Bridge Lane, and I don't know how they ever become separate of the farm, but they were definitely separate.
That must have been fair, all right.
There was 2 fields and a chunk of woodland.
Mm.
But I don't know who owned them. I know my granddad used to look after the woodland.
What about the Kidsbridge cottages? They were just a little bit further up, weren't they?
Where?
The Kidsbridge cottages. That was where Mrs. Maynard lived, wasn't she? I think for a while.
There was 2 lots of Kidsbridge cottages. There was one to number 6 off Church Lane. It was Kidsbridge cottages, which went with my granddad's farm.
Yeah.
And then I have an idea that the house down the other side of the footpath, where the Maynards lived.
Yeah, well, this is on towards Bert Dunn's place. You know, you go.
Yeah, well, and
just down the bottom up. No?
Yeah, there's a pair of cottages
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got an idea they were called Kidsbridge cottages as well, but I don't remember how or why. They certainly wasn't. And the Maynards that lived in there, because I can't remember where they worked. I got an idea somehow that pair of cottages was somehow connected with that Locker Lampson estate that was on the opposite side of the road.
Could be.
Because I think their ground came right down into Pot Common, didn't it?
Mm.
I've got a strong suspicion that they were.
Mm.
I don't know. They certainly didn't work for the ones in Church Lane from 1 to 6. All of them worked on my granddad's farm. They were either carters or woodworkers or tree fellers or something.
Mm.
It's going back.
Yeah.
Going back to to those days. When you used to go to Sunday school, as you're going back there where I'm 6 or sort of 10, we used to have a Sunday school outing at Bradshaw's Crawley Down, and we used to have 3 wagon loads of children go from Copthorne up there to their party.
Yeah.
So, you know, Sundays, that was the Sunday school outing, was this spread at Bradshaw's on there. And actually, I think Lily's still got some of the tablecloths upstairs that they used to have on the most gorgeous, great big long tablecloths, about 30 foot long. What sort of job it must have been to iron them, mustn't it?
Mm.
God, boy.
Yes, things.
Yeah, because it was, you know, this yellow sort of cake you buy in shops now, do you call it, not demerara, or is it it's a plain yellowy sort of cake?
Well, the only one I know is a saffron cake. The saffron, is it a saffron
I
cake?
don't know. I can't remember what Kathleen sometimes buys it now. And my grandchildren like it because it hasn't got any, they don't like cake with seeds in.
Mm.
Well, they used to dish this out, they used to buy it in great big slabs and cut it. And I know we always used to call it nigger's tread, because it was beautiful yellow cake at the bottom and then the dark bit at the top. And that was what it was christened at the Sunday school treats. But they were really fantastic spread, you know, for children. But as I say, there were three wagon loads of us used to go up from Copthorne. My granddad used to supply the wagons and the horses to take us.
See, the only wagon I
don't know how Bradshaw's come to be so much in control of Copthorne. Because one turn they looked after the Morgan Institute as well. Because I can remember my Uncle Charlie coming down there and anything, any jobs that had to be done, he used to issue the orders for them. And Bradshaw's definitely controlled that. And they were a big noise at Copthorne Church. But why weren't they a big noise at Crawley Down Church? Because there's only, you know, they're only about from here to the Keeper's Corner away from Crawley Down Church.
Mm.
But they were definitely, you know, played a big part in Copthorne Church.
Where was Bradshaw's up in Crawley Down then?
Pardon?
Where was Bradshaw's up in Crawley?
Where is Bradshaw's?
Yeah.
There's, let me tell you how to get you started. There's the tree people, you know where they are?
Yeah.
Right. And a little bit farther there's a sign that's on the road or something, they do something, some ornamental signs or something.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Is it at Newlands Park then? Is it Newlands, not Newlands Park?
No, not Newlands Park, it's Down Park.
Down Park?
Yeah.
Down Park, yeah, I know, Down Park, I know. Because actually I went there when they sold that house out.
Yeah. It's I think the big house is like Loveldine, it's split up into 3.
That's right.
There's a lodge at the end, and then there's another lodge almost the same as the one that end, up near the War Memorial.
That's right.
And the estate was down in there, where the drive used to go in there and come out by the War Memorial.
That's right. Because one of the Previtts they used to live in the stables, I think it was there, old stables. And they were woodcutters. Dad used to buy stuff from them.
They lived in one of the old cottages close to the road, didn't they?
I think this was, you used to go in by the first lodge gate, up in there a little way, and it was on the left-hand side.
Oh.
That's if my memory is correct.
And all there used to be up in there was, there's the lodge, and when you got up in there a little way, there's the place where the groom used to live.
Back in that.
Um,
That was on the left. Then the house was round to the right a bit more, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably that's where they separated it from the house, you know, earlier on.
But that was after the house was divided.
Afterwards you divided, yes, that'd be it.
Yeah.
I was going to say you know, a family of Previtts used to live quite near the front drive. There was an old pair of cottages lays back off the road there a little bit, and one of the Previtts lived there.
Because obviously, you know, there's a lot of wood people like that Dad was dealing with, you know, because we had buy wood from all corners.
That's where most of the builders used to get their orders from, because I can remember the first telephone going into Copthorne. You know, our number at R.O. Budgen's was Copthorne 6. They built a piece onto the what was Potter's Post Office in those days to put the telephones in to start with.
Where would that have been?
Right opposite that footpath where you come across the common. Which it's not a grocery shop now, is it? You know, we used to go down to Yardie Mitchell's.
Yeah.
Well, there was a post. Is it still a post office?
Oh, it's still a post office, yeah.
Oh well, that was where they put a piece on there and put the first telephones in.
That's the first telephone.
Yeah. Yeah, it was theirs was Copthorne 6, and then I know as it went along they added an extra number, and then it come double 206.